Hi and welcome to the fifth part in my series of preparing for the Tomb of Sargeras. This series is aimed at people who want to step it up in terms of raiding when the Tomb of Sargeras opens in a few weeks. Maybe you only do LFR and want to get involved in some organised raiding. Maybe you do normal or heroic and want to step up to mythic. Or maybe you already kill mythic bosses but want to step up to cutting edge achievements. Now in this part I'm going to be talking about the importance of targeted output. With raid encounters, it is easy for people to think simplistically in terms of tanks, DPS and healers, and tanks hold aggro on the boss and any adds, DPS kill them as quickly as possible, and the healers keep the raid alive. This mindset is further complicated by both healers and DPS, and even tanks to a degree, sometimes having an eye on the meters. And what gives you bigger numbers on these meters? As much output as possible to as many targets as possible. At the mythic level, however, and especially when there are tight checks to meet, then this attitude is what will cause you to wipe over and over again. Mythic Gul'dan is a great example of the sort of thing I mean. During the first phase, there are 3 DPS targets at various times: Gul'dan, the Eyes, and the Trapper. All need to die as quickly as possible, so you have effectively 3 DPS checks at once. If Gul'dan dies too slowly, then you will get the second add, something the faster progress skills couldn't help, but now we can. If the Eyes don't die quickly enough, then ranged players will be taking a lot of extra damage, and particularly when the liquid hellfire comes in, this can potentially kill someone outright. And if the Trapper doesn't die quickly enough, then he will cast a second Soul Prism, creating a very dangerous situation as it happens at the same time as Bonds of Fel. Now, if all the DPS were to try and maximise their own personal damage, they will always be AoEing when the Eyes are up. Everyone does more damage in AoE than single target, but some do a lot more than others. Now, if everyone does this, then there is a high chance that either the Trapper will live long enough to cast the second Soul Prism, or that Gul'dan will still be in phase 1 when the Fel Lord add is due to come in, or both. Either event will greatly increase your chance of wiping. Now in a situation like this, you need to have the players with good burst AoE killing the Eyes and single target specialists keeping their damage on the boss and the Trapper, even if it means their overall numbers will be lower. The overall raid DPS is higher. If you don't, if people do whatever pumps their numbers up, then you will have dozens of unnecessary wipes before you get the kill. Tichondrius is another great example. At the start of the bat phase, 2 bats spawn in. These need to be killed quickly and they will drop orbs that buff your damage. However, 2 people who have good AoE damage should be the ones to pick up those first 2 orbs. If random people pick them up, then the bats will not die quickly enough. You will have fewer orbs and you massively increase the chance that some people won't get an orb before the phase ends, killing them instantly. This certainly caused a lot of wipes for us and I know many others. So when approaching a fight, you need to be thinking in terms of the strengths of your class and spec. At any given point in the fight, what is of most value to the raid? When everyone does this, the boss dies quickly. When nobody does this, the boss never dies. For most skills, the number of people who do this lies somewhere between nobody and everyone. And the closer it gets to everyone, the quicker progress goes. And it's as simple as that. As well as selecting the correct targets, movement and positioning also play a part. Again, using Gul'dan as an example, people who do not move out of fire to stay on the boss may not be pumping their damage into the wrong target as such, but they are likely to kill other players. Even if it's your best DPS that gets the flames, there is no excuse for not moving out. The people you've killed will do no DPS, and nobody's damage can compensate for that. This is a particular threat to the raid when a meter whore has their DPS cooldowns active and then gets a mechanic which requires them to move out. No DPS likes doing that, but it has to be done for the good of the raid. Nobody ranks if the boss doesn't die. Speaking of ranks, I have an interesting piece of news in that the author of Warcraft Logs, Kira, tweeted this week about an idea to allow guilds to prevent logs being made public. Now, there are 2 reasons why a guild may wish to make their logs private only, so that only people in that guild can view them. The first reason is the top-end guilds may want to do it to prevent their competitors looking at their tactics, seeing how they're doing things and getting ideas. However, for the vast majority of guilds, that's not a thing. Most guilds don't have to copy their competitors. They can look at the tactics and strategies used by those who killed it sometime ahead of them. But there is another reason. And again, it comes down to DPS whores and to a lesser extent healing meter whores. In that, if you make the logs private, then nobody gets a rank. And if nobody gets a rank, then potentially the idea goes at any rate, whether it works or not is another matter, that people will be more inclined to do the jobs they're supposed to do, less bothered about their personal DPS because they're not going to get rank 1 either way. The issue is that even if a guild makes their logs private, it doesn't stop someone else just secretly logging and uploading it themselves, especially if they do it on an account where it's not obvious who's done it. Now, what Kira tweeted was an idea that it would be possible for a guild, as in the guild leader, to set things up so that any guild runs couldn't be made public no matter who uploaded them. This then would allow guilds who want to make their logs private for the purposes of preventing meter whoring actually having a useful tool to do that, and no one would be able to subvert it by uploading them privately themselves. So anyway, that's my video on the importance of targeted output. It applies just as much as healing to DPS, but DPS whoring is by far the biggest problem in these sort of things. The next episode is going to be about use of cooldowns. I hope you found this useful as always. If you did, don't forget to subscribe and also share with anyone else you think it might be useful for. And until next time, I'll see you later.